Are you sick of trying to make a new habit stick just to fall off the bandwagon and 6 months down the road feel like you have to start all over again? Well, keep watching to see my 6 steps for how to make a habit and make it stick. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ashley here. Whether we're trying to start to eat healthier, start a new exercise program, get to bed on time or get up earlier, or even just add flossing to your regular brushing your teeth routine, we're always trying to make new habits in the pursuit of health. It doesn't even just have to be physical health. It could also be our mental health, our spiritual health, just anything that we're trying to do on a regular, consistent basis to get us closer to where we want on our goals. We're always trying to make new habits to better ourselves. The good news is that in my personal opinion, I think that making a new habit is much easier than breaking an old one, which I'm going to talk about on a different video. But the problem does come with improper planning and then inconsistent follow through. So today we're going to talk about my 6 steps for making a new habit that will lead to success and continuation of that habit over the long term. Step number 1, clarify your intention. Why in the world do you want to do this habit? Why do you want to make this habit a part of your regular life? And unfortunately, it can't be something like, well, Dr. Ashley said I should. It really has to be something that feels so true, so motivating, something that gives you such determination when you recall this intention or the why of why you want to do it. And it doesn't have to be noble or altruistic or anything like that. It just has to be something that's motivating to you. So let me give you a couple of examples. So when I was starting a regular walking routine, of course I knew that getting up and moving my body and exercising and getting out to nature, they're all great things for me, right? I understand that based on my line of work. But none of those were nearly as motivating for me as the idea of, well, if I get up and take my dog on a walk, he'll bug me less throughout the day. He'll just be more worn out and tired. And that in and of itself was such a drive to get me going initially. Now I do it regularly and I look forward to it for the physical and mental benefits that I get of it. But that motivating factor of my dog Bear will bother me less was so crucial in getting started. So really try to clarify the reason that you want to get this done in your life. Is it to lose weight? And why in the world do you want to lose weight? Like really clarify, not just, oh, because my doctors say so, because it will make me healthy, but what will that mean for you? Another important point here is that you never want to underestimate the power of a thought. And that's why this planning step is so important. So for me, this is a great, powerful thought. I love getting up and walking now. I also really enjoy doing yoga. I'm not as big of a fan of doing the strength and resistance training, but I know it's good for me, so I have to get up and do it. And that itself is not as motivating of a factor as the idea of I will never regret a workout, but I will regret not working out. That to me is a powerful enough thought that it will get my butt out of bed at 5 a.m. So play around with different thoughts and figure out what feels true and right to you. Step number 2, create a clear goal. It's unhelpful to create a very non-specific idea of what you want your habit to look like. An example is, I would like to exercise more. Well, what does that mean? If you're not somebody who exercises at all, exercising once a month will be exercising more. That is technically meeting your goal, succeeding in your goal. But that's probably not what you mean when you say you want to exercise more. The same goes for, I want to eat healthier. Again, what specifically does that mean? I want to sleep more. What does that mean? You have to go through and say, how will I measure and define success so that you know if you're actually creating it? Another great example would be flossing your teeth. So what does flossing your teeth mean? Does that mean you will floss every day? Does that mean you will floss twice a day? You have to figure out what it means for you and set very clear expectations of, are you succeeding or are you failing? Step number 3, schedule your actions. What specific steps are you going to take to succeed in your goal and making this habit? I personally use my Google Calendar for all of my scheduling, but whether you use a paper calendar or a different calendaring system, it's important to put the specific actions in there for you. So let's continue talking about the example of flossing. One of my big successes was that I tried to keep making flossing part of my New Year's resolutions, and I failed year after year after year. And so finally I followed these steps and I got it is now a habit. But something that I had to do for myself was actually put it in my calendar. I had to schedule it as a task of flossing each night that I could actually check off, or my calendar would bug me and say I forgot about it. It would roll over to the next day. It would say one task pending, and that's how the Google Calendar tasks work. To be so annoying that it was just easier to do it that night. So I highly recommend putting in what specific actions you need to take for your goals into your calendar. So say your new habit is to, like I was doing, walk 2 or 3 times a week. You actually need to schedule out time that you're going to walk on your calendar so that you know if you did it or not. Step number 4, design a trigger. You want to create a trigger or multiple triggers that your brain will pick up on so that you can actually make this a habit. So your brain sees that trigger and it automatically takes the steps that it is necessary to complete the habit or the neural pathway that you want. Let me give you an example of this. For me, let's just continue on with taking my dog on a walk. Big triggers for that and exercise are going to be laying out my clothes the night before. If I'm not doing a walk, if I'm doing an exercise program online or a yoga class, I'll actually find what program and class I'm going to do so that I don't have to, when I'm awake and waking up and trying to figure out which class, do I have all the equipment ready and at hand, all of that stuff. I have that planned the night before. I set my alarm. That's a big one, is make sure that you're getting up on time if it's an early morning habit that you're trying to enact. And then when it comes to walking with my dog, he always sees like my walking clothes at night and he's like, oh, I know it's on. So then he wakes up when my alarm goes off too and he bugs me, and that in and of itself is a trigger. So what is the difference between triggering and calendaring or scheduling? Scheduling is something that you're going to be using early on while you're trying to create this new neural pathway in your brain, versus triggers are going to be something that are automatic and kind of always there. Other ideas or other examples of triggers, for me, it's going to be the day of the week. So the way most of my weeks work out, I have very specific days that I take my dog on a walk. I have specific days for yoga and I have specific days for strength training. So my brain automatically has that schedule down in its kind of internal clock. And that helps me stick to my plan. But when I was starting all of these programs, I really had to put it in the calendar in a way that I had to follow it. I had to kind of X mark it or, cross it out. So until that became more automatic. So calendaring is for setting up yourself for the habit, and triggers are things that are going to be continuous that help you maintain the habit over the long run. So let's talk about some non-exercise triggers. In the case of trying to make flossing a habit for me, always having the floss out on the counter or right next to my toothbrush was very helpful as a trigger for me. And automatically, when I pull open my drawer to try to find the toothpaste now, I see the floss there, and that in and of itself acts as a trigger. Not only that, but the time of day. So it's nighttime, it's part of my bedtime ritual to get ready for bed. That in and of itself also acts as a trigger for me flossing. Drinking more water is a great example. So kind of using the same water bottle every day and knowing exactly how many water bottles you need to drink in order to meet your hydration goals, and visually seeing that water level go down. If you use that repeatedly, your brain understands what the goal is, and that in and of itself acts as a trigger. So whether that's a clear water bottle or just kind of a normal, cup, and you know that you need to drink 3 of these a day, your brain knows where it's going, and that in and of itself can act as a trigger. Also, step number 5, anticipate obstacles. Plan ahead for things to go wrong. Because it will. That is part of life. Obstacles will always come up. And the more you can anticipate what those obstacles are and plan ahead of how you will work around them, the more successful you will be. And this really does help make the difference between a habit that you do for 3 months and then fall off the bandwagon and then a year later try to get back to it versus a habit you do forever. So what are some typical obstacles? I will say the number one obstacle that comes up, especially early on, but kind of repeatedly can sneak in there, is going to be lack of motivation. Your brain is designed to not like change. So making a habit is change. It's gonna hate it. It's gonna put up a fight every step of the way. Your job is to say, cool brain, I hear you. We hate this, but we're not going to hate this forever, and it's better for us in the long run. So I hear your complaint, and we're still going to take this action anyway. And just come at it like that. Don't be mad or confused or frustrated when your brain is saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to eat that salad. I don't want to go to bed early. I would rather stay up and watch TV or scroll social media. Understand that that's normal, and that's okay. And you can still take the action that you want on top of that. And eventually the new habit will become your new normal, and your brain will stop putting up a fight. So that is by far the number one obstacle you're going to come up with. Other obstacles are, for example, exercise, weather. I have to change my walking days or the walking time occasionally, depending on if it's snowing or raining or some other weather circumstance. Those I will kind of plan my day around, but for the most part, I try to go walk in every weather because it's just easier for my brain. It's easier for a continuation of this habit just to continue doing it. Food is another big one. So if you're trying to make a new habit of eating healthier and you're planning ahead, you're creating this meal schedule, but the grocery store was out of this specific ingredient, just try to anticipate, what's an easy switch or a substitute, or can I sub out this meal for something healthier? So just making a backup plan ahead of time when it's coming to meals, when it's coming to exercise, anticipate everything that's going to happen. If you're taking care of kids, they'll always get in the way. So how can you work your schedule around that? For me, when it's these personal things, they usually have to get done before my son wakes up in the morning or during his nap time or after he goes to bed. That's when I anticipate I can get these things done on a regular basis. Again, of course, if it's raining and pouring at 5 a.m., we'll maybe wait a little bit and we'll all go on a walk together. It's not as physically active for me, but at least we're all getting outside. And then the next day that I had planned on walking, I go right back to it. Make a list of all of the obstacles that you think could possibly come up ahead of time, including your brain, and make a plan for how you're going to deal with them. Step number 6, repeat. Continue taking these actions until the habit sticks. This is the simplest of the steps, but it's likely the most hard to actually put in place. Again, your brain, your body, everything is going to try to fight against it, especially initially, and you just have to keep following the process. So keep going back to your intention. Why are you doing this? Keep going back to your specific goal. What specifically are you trying to accomplish? And what do you need to do to succeed at that goal? Continue to come back to your scheduling if needed. So if you were doing really, really well with your plan to walk twice a week, and then winter happened and it snowed, and then Christmas and the holidays and everything, and you stopped doing it, go back to scheduling it in your calendar. Revisit your triggers. Do you need to tweak them a little bit? Can you find a different trigger that would be a little bit more motivating, a little bit more helpful, a little bit more action inducing in the moment? And then if new obstacles come up, or you had obstacles come up that you had anticipated but didn't respond the way you did, reinvent, kind of go through that process again. Okay, add in those new obstacles, or look at the plan that you had for those original obstacles and what tweaking do you need to make. Continue to go through this process. It's not a one and done. It's a go back and make sure that you're hitting every step and continue to do that. On average, they say it takes about 3 weeks to make a habit stick. So I would plan on doing this for at least 3 weeks, but just know for some of them it takes a little bit longer, and that doesn't mean anything is going wrong. Your brain is just learning a new neural pathway. So I highly recommend checking out my video on neuroplasticity so that you understand kind of what we're doing on a physiological and neurological level. We're demolishing old roads and building new ones. And so that does take time and just takes some practice. So go check out that video. Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any future videos on all things health and wellness. Finally, making new habits is a huge piece of weight loss. If you are struggling with weight loss and you are ready to tackle it for the last time, go check out on my website my 8 steps for jumpstarting your weight loss, a free download. You can head over to selfhealingdrashley.com to get that for yourself. All right, that's all I have for you today. I will see you at the next video.